The fearsome Queen Gordon has raised a treaty between the humans and vampires since we last set foot in this blood-soaked, vampire-infested world. Even so, the hypocritical mother of all vampires continues to fuel her chronic juicing habits with human blood farms, which in turn have become the target of the rogue vampire, the son of Batman. Suddenly, Hush appears out of nowhere like an unskippable YouTube ad bearing a message from Damien. I'll begin to set the stage in just a minute, but I want to give the Green Lanterns a shout out. No, I have not forgotten about them like Warner Brothers, it's just that they couldn't last 2 minutes with Wonder Woman. Green Arrow investigates one of these blood factories. Now, I heard that plant-based meats could make a decent alternative, but I never imagined them being so delicious that they would convert the vampires into vegans. In other news, a bloodthirsty Amazon tracks down Talia by tracking her down. I mean, if Wonder Woman's going to look at me like this, I'd probably let fate run its course. Not that I have much of a choice. She playfully dances around her opponent before swiftly strangling her to death. And this is when Alfred's empty-headed peanut brain thinks to make a run for it. The butler slips into a vault where he discovers the willpower to overcome great fear in the form of a superhero starter pack. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps. With great power comes too great a responsibility, which is why Alfred disappears. Barbara's untimely demise has left a power vacuum, and just as Aquaman points out the lack of lumbar support on the throne, a creepy grandma inquires about a child. Likewise, if he were anyone else but the Queenslayer, Robin would be soiling his diaper right about now. Batwoman resorts to her ultimate ability, a flashbang, which buys him an extra page for a first look at the Batman sequel. The rest of this chapter is dedicated to when the New Gods Big Barda and Scott Free surrendered to their intrusive thoughts and sired a prophecy. A prophecy that Ollie learns about, one that the rogue Aquaman is actively hunting, and one that the vampires believe can somehow invoke peace between them and their frameless cousins. Grandma comes in clutch with a stash of aloe vera to treat the Queen's burns, but in exchange, she wants the miracle child that will end humanity. Conversely, another stranger says to Constantine that the baby will save humanity. If you haven't guessed by now, it's Mr. Miracle's daughter they're referring to. The man's been on the run since the first chapter, but his luck may have just expired. Elsewhere, Batman is revealed to be Grandpa Ra's al Ghul. He gives a pitch about leading the vampires to a higher purpose together if the boy's willing to do the honors. But Green Lantern stops him just in time, and while the two senior citizens argue for custody of Baby Bat, the little scoundrel escapes right into Green Arrow's crosshairs. Luckily for Robin, Canary plans to employ him as a Trojan horse of sorts to infiltrate Gotham. To their disappointment, the only blood farm they can find is a severely handicapped Wally West. And just like that, cool people don't look at explosions. High above them, and I mean that in a literal sense, Constantine gets himself killed attempting to negotiate a deal to restore his memories. Now, how many of you know The Slap, where the guy runs around slapping people in the backyard? That's what Big Barda is doing when she comes to rescue her husband. But even she cannot be entrusted to not eat their child as Mr. Miracle slips away. Of all the characters in the series, the Family Man miraculously encounters Damien 2.0. What are the odds? 50-50. Either it does, or it doesn't happen. Anyway, Aquaman presumably drowns them both. As predicted by the stranger who reveals himself as Metron, violations of the treaty have resulted in the humans and vampires facing off in a Game of Thrones season finale. Or just another day inside the Trump administration. While all that is happening, the final boss makes his presence known. Damien 2.0, thinking he did him a solid, uses modern language arts citation and takes credit for handling the child, but to his dismay, he becomes a handpicked victim of natural selection. Don't ask me why her empty-headed peanut brain thought it would be a good idea to consume a parademon. Even the fiercely seductive Amazon, who thus far has made all her skirmishes look like a single-player game, is outclassed by the Lord of Apocalypse. Supergirl and Mary Marvel pull whatever this is, meaning that unless you've got the IQ of a horror movie character who cannot complete QuickTime events and trips over nothing, they probably covered your escape. Metron later explains that when the Green Lanterns got involved in a war they didn't fully comprehend, typical Americans, that's when Darkseid inadvertently discovered his adopted son, Mr. Miracle, was taking refuge on Earth. But unbeknownst to the surface dwellers, Scott survived by surviving. Presented before John Constantine is a stack of paperwork, and that's probably why death is optional in the DC universe. Rendered powerless and trapped inside the mysterious House of Mystery, the Copperfields and Houdinis are effectively cancelled. That is, until the Hellblazer reaches out to Deadman for a monumental side quest. Part of Darkseid's contractual obligation as a supervillain is to destroy our planet because humans are the center of the universe. He officially decrees Earth a furry-free zone, sorry Sonic Fox, and continues to torture Wonder Woman because he's evil. Lastly, Metron introduces his extended family, our supposed lords and saviors, the New Gods. The New Gods are a cowardly and superstitious lot who believe in one prophecy to rule all prophecies. Due to their unique kinship, the adopted son of Darkseid is the only one with the power to kill him. Likewise, the rumor mill has it that Mr. Miracle has lived up to his moniker by escaping death yet again, which is what prompts the final boss to mobilize his forces. Belated Creature Commando synergy and the arrival of his adversaries means he's going to be late to his dinner party, which is why Darkseid offers a parlay. In a surprising turn of events, a temporary alliance is formed. Barbara reveals she first learned about Darkseid all the way back in the prequel and was already working on a contingency until Oliver blew up her toys. The Resistance locates Mr. Miracle and essentially begs for him to snuff out his evil daddy. Despite having come pre-installed with a heart of gold, Scott eventually relents to peer pressure and marches on down to greet Darkseid. Unfortunately, they've all been double-crossed by their new god hall monsters. This grotesque vampire sickness cannot be allowed to spread throughout the galaxy, says Orion. Scott even agrees to return to the hellhole of Apocalypse if Darkseid spares this planet. But all he accomplishes is becoming the next hand-picked victim of natural selection. Elsewhere, an unlikely partnership has blossomed. 2 senior discounts and a ghost have managed to complete their side quest by respawning the wizards. It seemed pretty dire for a second there, I'm not going to lie to you, but most of the humans and vampires were able to escape simply by escaping. The Queen reminds everyone about the importance of teamwork, and boy does Damian take it to heart. No, I mean he literally drives a knife into her heart. All hell breaks loose as you'd imagine, with even the New Gods crashing the party. But somehow, someway, they all manage to escape yet again by escaping. Harley Quinn suddenly recalls her time as a prisoner spent staring at Barbara's blueprints, and some 45 minutes later, she doodles the blueprints of said secret weapon. The newly minted Queen Diana also appears out of nowhere and is willing to extend the human-vampire alliance, provided the Queenslayer pays for his actions. Alfred regretfully volunteers. What's the secret weapon, you ask? Why, thank you for asking. They're going to give the New Gods COVID. As effective as it is, the final boss isn't going to succumb to some measly airborne virus as he proceeds to obliterate the Resistance. For better or for worse, Damian isn't dead. Remember how Darkseid can only be killed by a member of his family? Since time flows differently here, Baby Bat spends the next 20 years shaping Mr. Miracle's daughter Avia into the perfect assassin. Wait, but wasn't she just handed to Darkseid a few moments ago? Well, as it turns out, all babies look the same, so they pulled a fast one on Darkseid. Then, when the world needed her most, Avia returns and performs a small incision so that the others can decapitate him. Finally, with the help of Green Lantern, Supergirl drags the entire planet towards the sun, forcing all vampires to get a free suntan. The end. That was the story of DC vs. Vampires World War V by Matthew Rosenberg. Make of this what you will, I'm just a messenger.